I think it's a good question, asking what are the struggles that business owners, especially, small to mid-size, startup business owners to $10 million level business owners, or maybe businesses that have done, tens of millions of dollars, and businesses that are deeply in debt, but, have done that at one point, regardless of the size of your business. And I've had the pleasure of working with businesses, that are doing billions of dollars, and have consulted on strategies with those kinds of businesses as well. But they're all having very similar challenges. And when you really break it down, you find that the personal and really the forces that drive the person that's also leading the business, that business becomes a mirror of that leadership. And there's three fundamental elements that are really the linchpin in resolving these problems. So I would say at the fundamental level, there's linchpin root problems in every business that they struggle with on a regular basis. And it's not what you think. The symptoms don't point to the root cause. So if you have a cash flow problem, then going out and making more sales and getting more leads and improving your marketing, although that's generally what I find most business owners start to do when they've called me, is they say to me, how am I going to get more leads? How am I going to get more sales so we can sell our way out of this? But, I heard a quote, you can't sell your way out of stupid. There's nothing wrong with increasing, improving revenue. But again, the symptoms rarely point to the root cause. And when I share the three primary struggles, I think you'll hear this isn't really common. Talking about these issues, these aren't common issues, common topics that are coming up. So let's break it down in a little bit of detail. The small business owner is generally dealing with cash flow issues, hiring issues. They're dealing with regulatory issues. They're dealing with internal communication issues or leadership issues. They're concerned that their product isn't getting the kind of marketplace response that they want. And the challenge that they run into when that happens is there's so much messaging, there's so much information that says, here's a shiny solution. Let's get on ClickFunnels, let's get on Facebook, let's get on this new marketing and lead development channel. Let's do a product like this other company did. And we have so much of a proliferation of information, and really the answer is so much simpler. It's to step back and get back to basics, because, first of all, doing what everyone else is doing is not going to be the answer. We've heard about the blue ocean strategy. You can't go, you can't jump in where the blood is red, where everyone else is doing the same thing. You've got to move into a place where what you're doing it's not only innovative at the marketing level, but it's innovative at the product level. And I think there's an integrity in that. So the three major issues that I'm finding, these linchpin problems inside a business, again, these are not symptoms. These are root causes. And their root causes, I do believe that they're reflections of the leadership of a company. They're opportunities for leaders to say, hey, you know what? How am I caring for myself? How am I caring for my body and my mind and my relationships and my spiritual health, my stillness, and my ability to let go and find peace and get centered? It might sound overly frou-frou, but it's amazing how these things are missing. So you'll see how these show up in the three linchpins. The first one is getting radically productive and effective. And I know that might sound, again, overly simplistic, but let's look at it as a root cause. It's not like, how do I plan my morning? It's not about how am I going to launch a product or put an action plan together. It's more fundamental. It's at the level of, am I prepared to consistently do what I say I'm going to do? And as an individual, as a leader in a business, the leadership needs to be in a position to be able to know with total certainty that each area of that leader's life is making progress, is building momentum, and that leader can make a commitment, understand what things look like today, 1 week out, 90 days out, 6 months out, a year out, 5 years out. What's the vision that this and the why that this leader is going to serve, so that he or she can go after it, become fascinated with becoming productive and knowing that he or she can go back to making things happen, creating progress through consistency. I think a lot of people have a disconnection with the reality that they're dealing with too. So when we talk about being really productive and effective, it also means knowing how things are going right now. So I can tell you from lots of business owners I've met, and even looking back in my own life, if I go back, more than 15 years ago, if someone asked me physically, Nate, are you a on a scale from 1 to 10, what are you? Are you a 2, a 3, a 5? What are you physically in your physical health? And I would have said a 7 out of 10. Now, if I look back, I could show you a picture where I was really heavy. I was 206 pounds. And yet I told you, I would have told you I was an athlete, that I was a runner, and that I was a 7. You can't move forward. You can't be productive in solving the primary issues of growing a business if you really have no clear picture, no reference point of what a 10 really is. So there's this getting radically productive and effective means, it's not about having a story that makes you look good. It's about knowing where you really are and constantly moving that forward, knowing that you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and then it's based on the truth. It's based on real information. It's based on the real situation. The second thing about being, about sort of these fundamental missing pieces, I think, of business building, it's about starting helping. So, a lot of times I have a client right now who's in the copy business, who's working with the legal industry. And he said to me, we're just not getting the response from our clients anymore. We're not getting, the marketplace isn't demanding our services, and they're fighting us and grinding us down on price. And he started talking about blaming his clients. So he didn't have the business intelligence. He didn't know how to look around curves. But at the very basic level, the linchpin that was the problem is that he wasn't being helpful. And I think being helpful is like, hitting the brakes and saying, we can put a bunch of marketing, we can put a bunch of lead development out there, we can work on sales programs and innovation and websites and all the things that we want to do to be clever and grab the shiny silver bullet solution. But in the end, the root issue is the business owner and the leadership, the company needs to say, we're fascinated with being helpful. We're fascinated with solving problems. We actually care about the people who we're serving. And if we're not helpful anymore, we need to find a way to get helpful. So it's not just about creating an irresistible offer that we've heard so much about in marketing. It's about creating an irresistible product. And an irresistible product knows what keeps someone up at night, but it also knows how to solve that. It doesn't just talk about it. It doesn't create a good brand or a good image. It actually, we know without any doubt at all, that it solves the problem that this marketplace is dealing with. And it does it in a way where it's fascinated with doing it better than anybody else. So if you're in the copy business and you're doing it, you're serving the legal community, and what you're providing is no longer of value to them at the level that gives you, the ability to scale and grow your business and also to really serve them, it's telling you something. It's telling you that you're not being helpful. And helpfulness works inside a company, it works outside a company. So you can look at if there's communication challenges, relationship problems, leadership problems, cash flow problems. Look at, are we being helpful? Who's the driving force in the production of, in the delivery of your products? Who's the driving force in product development? What about your sales team and your admin team and your finance team? All of these people, they have things going on in their lives. And again, whoever's leading the charge in each part of your business, what's happening personally is mirrored in the business. So the helpfulness says, what can we do as a business? How can we look at a business? What I like to do when I go into business is deconstruct the pieces of the business and that are the owner and everyone in the business seems to think are the most valuable to the internal team and externally, and be able to say, what is it that I can do that makes this more helpful to whoever's involved? And I become fascinated with that. And you find out that when you become fascinated about what gets people energized and gets them clear and gets them working in their zone, the business starts to turn, the energy starts to turn, and the people and their lives and the way they engage with their life starts to turn. I've worked with CEOs at so many different levels. What I find out is you can know your metrics, you can know your KPIs, you can understand your revenue, you can know your lead and your lag numbers and all of that. But if you're not helpful and you're not fascinated by that, then you're going to have a whole series of problems. And so, getting down to that root cause of being helpful is an amazing way to create a ton more value internally and to your marketplace. And it changes the game. Now, the third is systemizing it. So, and the key about systemizing it is the number of times I've walked into a company, I find out that the systems they've created were designed to speed up a process that's only partially effective. So what I find, if you take that system apart and take the pieces that made it work and the pieces that don't make it work, you lay it all on the table and you say, okay, if I were to do this process in this business manually, what would make it work really well? And I test it manually. And I don't care how big your company is, you pull that conveyor belt apart and you say, you know what, there's different departments, there's different steps along this process of building the solution, whether it's a product or a service, whatever your delivery is. And then when you put it back together, you say, we know that this system works, or we know that some elements have changed and it works now. So, obviously things change. So systems need to change. And then you go back, you take what's working manually, you systemize it, you make sure that it's helpful, and you make sure that you're massively productive and effective at making and keeping promises, making progress every day, having rituals every single day in your business, in your leadership, that are creating constant improvement. And what's stunning is that the after action report process that I take business owners through shows that by taking all their energy and taking all their investment away from solving and dealing with and trying to cure and heal symptomatic issues, and shifting them over to the root causes, one root cause issue can have a dramatic effect on all of the symptoms. When you get so focused on doing what you say you're going to do, so focused on being helpful, you'll be shocked at the difference that it makes to all the problems that you're having in your business. And, that's really what being a minimalist CEO is all about. It's about bringing the energy back. It's about looking at the self-care, the work-life balance, and also engaging at the root cause. So, yeah, it's a good question.